Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be reviewing the Audio-Technica R70x, but not only that, we're going to be covering some tech news. We're going to be talking about how your gaming might actually be destroying the planet, seriously. And at the end of the video, I'm going to have some carousel bargain finds that I did find. So if you're a Singaporean viewer looking to buy some cameras or some gaming stuff, I found some cheap deals that you might want to check out. Okay, let's get into this video and let's start with the Audio-Technica R70x. This Japanese audio company, Audio-Technica, it has and always been about their value for money products. And I have a lot of history with them. I've owned multiple Audio-Technicas over the years, and not one has actually ever really disappointed me for its price. This then is probably their most overlooked headphone, but I think some of the best headphones I've ever tried in my life, and from this brand. This is the Audio-Technica R70x. It features 45mm drivers, weighs 210 grams, and has a frequency response of 5 to 40,000 Hz. It's the sibling to the brilliant studio headphones, the M70X, but compared to that, it's a little different. For one, it's open-backed, so sound gets in and gets out much easier. It's designed for quiet environments like a home or a studio, and has a resistance 470 ohms, which means if you ever did the grave mistake of plugging these headphones into your smartphone, you're only gonna get garbage from them, and you will be considered blasphemous by every major community in the world. But plug them into a good source with good power, and wow, you're in for a treat. In a word, these sound phenomenal. I far and away have always considered the $200 to $300 price range to be the ideal for a headphone, where the audio gets so good it's more than enough for most. And these headphones enter a market full of competition. It's got legendary names in it, living in it, like the Sennheiser HD600, the 650 and the AKG Q701 Quincy Jones edition. Now, this price bracket is clearly full of legendary names and full of established powerhouses, but somehow the R70x, the new boy that only came out a few years ago, is my favorite of them all. You sit down, you plug them in and hit play, and my word, is it good. Now, the R70x have an extremely balanced sound, but somehow it manages to stay exciting, unlike some real flat sounding headphones. You see, the R70x is a little unique in this aspect to its competitors. While the Sennheiser HD600S, AKG K and Q701s and the Beyerdynamic DT series sound excellent, they all have a very treble-focused sound, with a bias towards the upper mids and the high end in the frequency response range. Now, this is not necessarily bad, but it means that from these big established companies in this price range, in this caliber, there isn't much that would satisfy someone who enjoys music full of drums and male vocals, full of bass. For someone who doesn't just listen to German marching band anthems and Chopin. Now, all its competitors are extremely comparable in quality, detail, separation, but that warmth, that bass reproduction, the way it handles the mid-bass, the roll-off, the way it makes music sound fun, especially if you're listening to hip-hop or pop, without being unbalanced, without being overbearing, with the perfect amount of subtlety, makes the R70x a fun, enjoyable sounding headphone that is much more palatable to the average listener, and that isn't too common in this class of headphones. Now, that's not to say it lacks anywhere else at all. Frankly, you can find beautiful sound everywhere on these headphones' frequency response, like it painted instruments and notes with a fine brush into your eardrums. The detail and separation it provides is wonderful and clear. It's noticeable. But because it's not so intense on the treble like your Beyerdynamic and AKGs at its price, it's a lot more enjoyable for my youngest years, at least for long periods of use. But even with all these descriptions, don't get me wrong, it sounds extremely natural and realistic. It doesn't spike in the bass or doesn't spike in the mids. It doesn't have a weird spike or weird warped sound. It just feels very immersive because it's so natural sounding, as if said instruments could be playing to you in front of you at that very instant. This, coupled with the wonderful, lovely soundstage that is not very wide and rather intimate, makes you feel intimately close to the music you're listening to. Wonderful for my tastes at least, and also wonderful for crying to Frank Ocean at 4 AM in the morning. And in terms of aesthetics, it looks gorgeous as well. The R70X has this clean, symmetrical aesthetic. A clean circle with simple branding and an almost steampunk aesthetic with scaffolding-esque metal construction. The headband has holes to save weight, but it's machined beautifully so it looks like it's a perfect part of the construction. It looks like the chassis of a supercar, and it looks like this bare bones yet potent beast. And it's a very lightweight device, but it makes up for the lightweight feel that tends to make things cheap by using premium materials. Everywhere you touch, it's felt or high quality plastics or aluminium. And everything, the holes in the ear cups, everything is machined beautifully. And that is wonderful. And I love the look of it. It doesn't look like a fancy, posh, lean back in your leather couch kind of headphone. For me, this R70X looks like it could fit right at home on a plane on the pilot's head, which obviously wouldn't make any sense because it's open-backed. But you get the idea. It's pure function over form in terms of its look, and that looks beautiful. As for comfort, this is where it gets weird with the R70X. This is your average headphone. It's got an adjustable, simple adjustable headband. It slides up and down to fit your head size. However, this is Audio-Technica R70X's kind of headband comfort system. Instead of an adjustable headband that is simple and moves up and down and fits your head depending on your size, they've got this automatic system that goes up and down. Replacing the normal adjustable headband are these two flappy bits that go up and down like this. And what they basically do is they just adjust to the size of your head supposedly magically. In theory, it's excellent, right? Because, hey, you don't need an adjustable headband now, which saves weight, makes it simpler, and you just put it on your head, you don't have to adjust things. So it just kind of fits. It goes up to fit a bigger head, it stays down to fit a smaller head. The problem with this, however, in practice, is that the range of movement for these two flappy bits is extremely limited. So if you have a really big head, you're going to find yourself kind of pushing these pads against the headband, which reduce the proper comfort. And if you have a very small head, you'll find that the pressure from these two flappy bits might not be enough to really securely grip your head, and as a result, the headphones might slip off your head more easily. Thankfully though, the people on the internet have found a solution. If you have a very small head, you can tie a rubber band across here and push and kind of pull these two little flappy bits towards each other, increasing its tension and increasing the pressure on your head. But it's kind of a solution that I wish you didn't have to use. I don't know how exactly Audio-Technica can fix this if they want to continue using the system, which they seem insistent on doing, but this system has its drawbacks. But the thing is, it's a good idea in theory, so when it actually does work for you and it's actually comfortable for you, the comfort is unparalleled. You can wear this for hours, and I seriously mean hours and hours on end, and I found it to be of a little issue. For one, it's light as a feather due to the kind of stripped down bare bones design, and for another, its padding is wonderful with soft plush felt materials that are extremely comfortable to feel on your skin. So it is very comfortable if the sizing and the headband system works for you, and if it does, it feels luxurious. Not like a Rolls Royce with wood and leather and premium materials, but it feels comfortable, like a comfortable bucket seat in a sports car, like a Porsche 911 GT3. So what then is the R70X? It's a sweet spot headphone, which to me is the best kind of headphone, and Audio-Technica are just so good at releasing value products, it shows. With a design and build that looks and feels better than the competition from Sennheiser, AKG and Beyerdynamic, and the fact that it's also more comfortable too with its interesting headband design and lighter weight than all its competitors and most of the headphones I've ever tried in my life. It's so damn light, seriously. Apart from the fact that, maybe the cable's a bit too long and clunky, and if your head's too big or too small, the headphone kind of headband system doesn't really work for you. But apart from those few things, I think the R70X is one impressive audio machine to pick up and own. Not to mention that
the sound is much more friendlier to the average listener than most because of its slight warm bias and intimate soundstage. Sure, it might not be the best for technical perfection and neutrality, and it might not be the best for classical because of how it sounds, because it doesn't have a soundstage that mimics having two speakers of high quality in front of you, but who cares? You can enjoy your perfection, and I can enjoy the music that I like hip-hop and R&B and soul and jazz. And if someone is into music that is more favorable for warm tones, the R70X is just simply a better choice. Sure, it might not be technically perfect, but unless you're trying to master the Knicks, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, you don't need technical perfection. What you should get is something that actually makes the music you like sound nice. And the R70X has this sound signature that fits my tastes perfectly, yet it's still technically excellent, just like the Sennheiser HD600 or AKG Q701s. So that is like this beautiful blend of things that I need and things that I want, which is awesome. That's why I love the R70X. They sound good, and for a decent price as well. But not only do they sound really good, they come with a type of sound that is extremely palatable and extremely compatible for my music tastes and for what I think will be palatable for a lot of people's music tastes due to its warm tones. So as a result, I love the R70X, and I think it's a great choice. And that's that. The R70X really is a good pair of headphones. Okay, but now it's time to move on to the next segment of today's show, which is the news. And we're going to be talking about what has happened recently in the world of technology that I think you might be interested in finding out. So, for one, the RTX 3060 has been released, as well as the AMD competitor. They're both neck and neck. No one's really kind of sure exactly which one's the best yet. Reviewers can't really decide, it seems. But they both look very high performance. The only issue is you've got a lot of scalpers and Bitcoin miners who are just farming these RTX 3060s, these new GPUs. So the chances you can get them is probably literally zero. And also Nvidia is reducing the stock to make kind of Bitcoin dedicated GPUs, which means the supply for gaming 3060s will be even more reduced, which is so stupid in my opinion and so annoying. Linus Tech Tips recently did do a video where he explained why this is such a stupid move and such a selfish kind of corporate capitalist move from Nvidia. Also, in this week, Intel X its overclocking warranty, which means if you brick your stuff or overclocking it, you don't get covered, which makes sense from a logic standpoint, like you're doing something that it wasn't really built to do. But it's Intel removing even more stuff from like their chips, their products. Intel's already behind in terms of the game. They're already far behind AMD, and they should be adding reasons to go with Intel over AMD, not the other way around. And besides, some of these chips are designed, literally called overclocking SKUs with the K in them. So if you remove overclocking warranty off of your overclocking chips, are you saying that these overclocking chips are not meant to be overclocked? Huh? This is like Intel, being behind in the race and going, oh, you know what would be great? I'm gonna stop here and take a 5-minute nap before continuing on the race. That will surely help me win. Or like Intel being behind in the race and deciding to pull out a pistol and shoot his foot off. They just decided one day, okay, you know what we're gonna do to win this race? We're gonna lose. That's exactly what they've done. That's exactly what they're saying with this. Intel, what's wrong with you? I thought you had a new CEO. Also, recently Volvo announced that they will go all electric by 2030. That's a pretty generous time frame from this Chinese Geely-owned company. Frankly, I see a few things by 2030 happening. One, we will probably be mostly underwater, so Volvo should be making electric boats, not electric cars, by 2030. And the market will already be close to full electric by 2027. I think, anyway. And we would have run out of rare metals to make, say, the electric cars by that era. Good news on that resource front, though, in terms of running out of kind of rare metals, because EU has just passed a new right to repair law that mandates digital devices be sold, in a way that allows them to be repaired easily by, professionals as well as consumers. EU just mandated that these devices, all devices that be sold in the EU, to be made in a way that allows you to dismantle and repair it, and also come with repair manuals so that you can understand how to fix these electronic devices. So the iPhone 13 is gonna have to look, or the iPhone 14, whichever phone comes out when the law comes into effect, it's gonna look a lot more different to whatever the iPhone looks today, which is super exciting, because it means that with this right to repair law, since EU is such a massive market, a lot of tech companies are going to start releasing products that are actually designed to be repaired properly, actually designed to be, you know, something that you can fix yourself, which is exciting. And I think the EU mandate also states that these manufacturers are going to have to sell parts for their old devices and allow, you know, consumers to just buy these parts to fix their devices themselves. I think there's also a clause that allows these manufacturers to limit certain fixes to only the professional professional trained technicians, but at the very least it is mandating that these devices be able to be fixed and repaired with standard devices, which is an excellent absolute victory for right to repair, which is great for the environment. It's great for reducing waste. It means that, you know, you can repair your stuff instead of having to upgrade it. You know, reduce and reuse come before recycle. So this is an absolute win, which is sick. But what that leads me to think is if more and more devices become kind of built out of standard parts or can be assembled and repaired with standard tools, my question is modding your smartphone going to become the next big trend? Like if suddenly iPhones and Samsung phones and all these phones have to be built in a way where you can disassemble them with standard devices, with standard screwdrivers, and you should be able to easily disassemble them. If you can do that, then what's stopping people from starting to manufacture, you know, new cases, new upgraded batteries, upgraded, you know, RAM chips, or upgraded PCB, or upgraded camera modules for your Samsung Galaxy S31, S41, or your iPhone 14. If that does actually happen, then the modular smartphone idea that we've been kind of wishing existed might actually become reality, which is super duper exciting. And on the topic of resources running out, have you ever thought that your gaming is killing the environment? Well, it actually is. Well, everything we do is, but your gaming does too. This is your average computer chip. It's not edible, but it sure makes people plenty of dough. It's a complex blend of silicon metals and crazy engineering. It runs the world we live in today, and there's no escaping it. From your phone to banking to designing buildings to cars driving, even if you never used a device in your life, the road you have walked on in the past might have probably been designed and calculated by a computer chip, by a machine. So clearly it's important, but unfortunately for us, the parts essential to its production, the resources used, well, they're running out, and really fast. These parts are the materials used in electronic productions, namely metals like lithium, rare earth elements, gold, and even sand, used for making silicon for computer chips, is running out. Bye bye beaches. Jokes aside though, why are these important in the production and how are they running out? Lithium, for example, is great for technology because currently it's the key to the best kind of battery technology we have. Nickel too. Nickel hydride and lithium ion batteries are currently the two leading types of battery technology, pardon the pun, and unfortunately we haven't been very successful at finding better choices that are even more efficient. These metals, while not extremely uncommon, are insanely difficult to mine, and not to mention very harmful to the environment to extract and mine due to its chemical pollution from its production and its heavy power requirements. Sure, we save on emissions with electric cars, but the batteries, its production, all these heavily mitigate our true gains forward. Gold and rare earth elements are essential for tech production because they have unique properties. Scandium, deuterium, catherium, the weird names goes on. But they all have their different purposes and they all are very unique because of their interesting properties. Generally, they are used either because they are extremely conductive, like gold,
or they are natural permanent magnets or lodestones. Rare earth elements aren't actually that rare. The only issue is that they are spread out across the Earth's crust rather evenly, at least relative to, say, gold or silver, and finding pockets of them to dig up and extract is insanely difficult. The concentration is the problem, not the amount. They're not so concentrated in particular areas that you can just find pockets of them, and that is a problem. It's not like you can dig up every inch of land everywhere to find rare earth elements. You can't just dig up a school because you need rare earth elements. As for sand, well, sand is silicon, and silicon is used to make the chips for everything, and it's also used to make glass, which is very important for our tech devices today. And that is running out as well, so bye beaches. In fact, programs to recycle glass bottles, turn them back into sand, have kind of been pitched, but unless you want to step on broken glass, I don't think that idea is going to be very popular, at least for quite some time.
So why the hell are we running out, and at an increasing rate? Well, for one, the demand just keeps going up. With the internet being increasingly accessible and competition driving the prices down, the demand just keeps going up and the supply too. That means the rate of mining and extraction keeps going up and up and up, but the demand also keeps going up and up. So the total amount left in the earth is reducing at an increasing rate. And it makes sense, right? And not just consumers electronics too. For every digital service that's created and used, such as cloud storage or app on the App Store, and for every person saving more things online, more strain is put on servers, more hardware is created and built and needed to upgrade to create new servers. And that's an even bigger issue. Servers eat up power like an obese diabetic American and use up crazy amount of resources. And a server is usually made up of many units, each with a lot of high-end components in, well, every single part of him. Each unit might not just have one CPU like an average computer, but even 4 or 8 or 16. And we're not talking crappy dual-core i3s here, but the highest end chips with the highest material and power requirements in terms of like Ryzen Threadrippers with 64, 128, 256, 500 cores. On top of that, these servers need a lot of materials for their SSDs, hard drives and their RAM, as well as materials for the cables, the connectors and fiber optics. Also, cooling these hot servers as well takes an insane amount of power. That is not good for your environment anyway. So, it adds to the increasing demand for these rare materials, and on top of that, it also adds a lot to the power consumption of our Earth and the emissions of our Earth. And all these hurt the environment way more, which is not desirable in every way. So every time you game, every time you upload something to Google Drive, you actually add a lot of stress to the Earth.
So what are some solutions? As for reducing the materials being used, some simple ideas like upping recycling programs, which frankly aren't very efficient to begin with, are being pushed. Laws like the new EU regulations to help repairs for consumers also mean less upgrades and less waste, since repairs would hurt the world way less. But there are also some other insane ideas that just might work. For example, a group of researchers have been trying to create a soluble PCB, so that obtaining the rare materials attached to these PCBs will be as easy as dissolving the PCB and separating the elements and materials obtained, helping mitigate the inefficiencies of recycling. Because currently, the way to recycle computer chips would be to grind them up and find some way to remove the gold and the precious materials from the silicon. This way, you just need to add the chemical to dissolve the PCB and boom, you just have a pile of different rare earth materials and stuff left that you can easily separate, because gold isn't reactive and most of these rare earth elements aren't as well.
So what can you do? Well, for one, you can recycle. But remember, recycling is very inefficient. It's about as efficient as a pre-fuel crisis 1960s V8 pickup truck. It doesn't do that much for the environment. I mean, it does a lot in terms of recovering these materials we have used in the past so that we don't have to mine more from the earth. But recycling has its limits essentially. It's very power hungry to recycle these rare metals, these rare materials from your computer chips, because you have to grind them up, melt them, and then you have to separate everything from each other, which becomes a mess, and it's very difficult and it's not very efficient. So the best way to go about things, and the best way to can help you a little bit, is definitely to reduce and reuse, which come before recycle. So if you can repair a device, instead of upgrading and replacing it, repair it. If you can buy secondhand, you should buy secondhand. In fact, I love buying things secondhand. Most of the things that I use are secondhand, like my camera that I'm shooting this on, it's all secondhand. Reduce and reuse, and as far as possible, don't constantly look for the next upgrade in terms of your tech. Don't constantly look for the next best thing in terms of the tech, because a lot of time you don't really need to upgrade. The money that you spend might not be worth it. The effort that you have to spend to go and source it also might not be worth it. So don't always think of upgrading. It's a good start, and also buying secondhand is also another good thing to do, and also repairing instead of replacing. And if you really have something that's completely broken, that's not salvageable, then recycle the device at a recycling center in the end, but keep it as the last option. Now, obviously, if you want real big proper change, we're going to need governments to legislate corporations to actually put into place things that make sense. And with the new EU right to repair laws, there is of course a glimmer of hope that things are going to be eco-friendly. You're going to be able to repair them, you're going to be able to upgrade less, you're going to be able to buy less and use for longer with these new EU right to repair laws and whatnot. So fingers crossed things get better. But if you want to see, if we as a humanity want to see big changes in this aspect of fighting climate change and fighting our earth that's dying, we definitely need to have big changes in the world of in the way corporations act, in the way companies produce and manufacture. But that is going to take time, and fingers crossed it all goes well, but who knows. So is the world going to end? Well, probably, but at least I want to be able to get cool technology and new smartphones until that happens, and that's not going to happen if we run out of all these materials. So do your part, be a little bit conservative, and it'll probably save you a couple bucks as well. So since we're on the topic of reusing, let's talk about buying some stuff secondhand, and here are some carousel deals I've found. First off, this camera I found, it's the Sony a7R III for $1,800, which is an insanely good price. It comes with a battery grip and a battery as well, and a charger, which is really good. I think the reason it's so cheap is because it's been mislabeled as the Sony AR3, and no one's gonna find a listing named Sony AR3. I just happened to chance on it. So I'm guessing this guy will take a low offer as well because it's so cheap. Now, this video is taken some time to edit and stuff, so by the time this video is uploaded, maybe someone have taken the deal. But I'm just gonna list it anyway, just for fun. So yeah, I'm guessing he might take a $1,600 or $1,700 offer, which is going to be an insane deal for a Sony a7R III 45 megapixel beast of a camera. So that's good. Second, if you're looking for some noise cancelling headphones, you should look into the Bose QC25s. The Bose QC25s and QC15s, the QC25 was kind of the first really good noise cancelling headphone. Before that, most noise cancelling headphones had very bad high-pitched whine or weren't very effective at all. Bose really got it right with the QC15s, and they properly refined the whole noise cancelling system in the Bose headphones and with the QC25s. And Bose were kind of before Sony, were before Beats, were before everyone else. So, the QC25s were way ahead of its time. Now the Sony have clearly caught up in terms of its performance, so the new Sonys are better, but the QC25 is an excellent choice, and you can find it for like $60 to $80 for a bit more of a rundown copy. You might have to replace the ear pads. And if you spend about 100, 110, you can find a pretty decent one with a nice alcohol wipe down. It's going to be clean enough for your use. Seriously, don't worry too much about hygiene and stuff. Just clean it properly and you'll be fine. So that's that for the carousel deals. That's all I could find so far. If you have any kind of interesting deals that you want to share with me, join my Discord, which is linked in the description, and send it to me. Follow me on Instagram if you want more updates on this show, more updates on when the next episode is coming. Probably going to come in only 2 weeks from now. This is a new format, so make sure you tell me in the comments if you liked it, and subscribe and like if you want to see more of this kind of stuff. Now, a 3,000 subscriber giveaway is coming very soon, so make sure you stick around for that. And on that, I I guess it's time to say goodbye. Have a good week ahead, and I'll see you guys maybe in a week or two. Updates on Instagram and Discord. Alright, goodbye.